to Changing the Sales Game on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. You know that I'm happy that you're here. Now, as you listen and tune in every week, I know that word sales and our expectation of goals and all of that could be daunting at times. So to help you on your journey of changing your personal sales game, I have a free gift for you, which the link will be in the show note. You'll get 2 reports. One spotlights just your natural superpowers of how people perceive you. Flip side, you'll get a second report, which will spotlight your lowest score, which is typically your blind spot. More important to understand that. So we always make sure that our messages are being received appropriately. So to start the show, so again, the link is in the show notes. Now, to start the show, you know, I always start with my motivational quote, just sets the stage for the topic that my guests and I are going to discuss. And the quote is by Nelson Mandella, and he says, "Do not judge me by my success. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up." I love this quote. For a moment, I want you to think about how many times have you hit hard times or maybe literally fell down during your life. And I bet it's quite a bit. Now, we've all had hard times, uncertainty of what is that next best step. And the most important when things are really going badly, that we just stand back up and dust ourselves off. And what's that saying, right? Start all over again. And I don't believe that there's such a thing as an overnight success. It may appear that way from looking from the outside, but I bet most overnight success took years to get there and to accomplish. So who is my wonderful guest today? Her name is Lady Jen du Plessis. Jen is affectionately known as the impact mentor and scaling architect, becoming the leading expert in building world-class teams. A financial service industry veteran of 4 decades. She's listed, she does not look at, by the way, you'll see if you're on YouTube, you got to check that out. She was listed in the top 200 mortgage originators nationally and funded over $1 billion in mortgage loans during her career. She has numerous #1 Amazon best-selling books, hosts 2 ranking podcasts, and is the producer and host of her TV show, Tell Me I Can't. So please help me welcome the amazing Jen to the show. So Jen, thanks for being on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You know, when I was a little girl, I was thinking about your story. When I was a little girl, you know, growing up with, I was called Jenny who ain't got a penny, right? I could never imagine that I would be, you know, have the ability to be on, you know, podcasts and TV and stages and all of that stuff. And I'm just so excited to be here to be able to share that my story of all those failures and standing back up, you know, to get to the place where I am today. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's really my pleasure. And it's true, right? There's no such thing as an overnight success. There's a lot of work. Each brick has to go in. And sometimes the bricks are messed up and we have to redo them. And that's life, right? Life is messy. You have to stand up, right? Dust ourselves off. And that old saying of start all over again. So yeah, I love that. That's what you're all about as well. It's life, man, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. We walk around. I don't know who sings the song. We walk around the house. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to knock me down.
I love it.
We're always singing that.
I should have put that as the quote. That would have been a good one. I love it. I love
it.
But I love Nelson Mandela too. You know, right? He rocks.
Yeah.
So tell us, give us an idea, because again, right, there's no overnight successes, like you said. Who would have thought when you were a little girl and what you're doing now, like, right, mind blow. Tell us about your business journey.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the business journey is, you know, again, it stems from my childhood, and I won't talk about that, but, you know, I was known as Jenny who ain't got a penny. I was told, you know, I was going to be worthless. I'm not going to make it in the world. I'm going to be like my parents, poor and all that stuff. And I think that, you know, so what I ended up doing was just proving. I spent a lot of time in my life proving that I wasn't going to be Jenny who ain't got a penny. And of course, I didn't understand it in the beginning, but later I understood that. And so I always had this confidence issue, you know, that was just planted. And then I watered the seed myself, you know, by saying, oh, well, I guess I'm not. So I did that for years and years and years. And then, you know, and of course that transcended into, you know, everything I did. I overachieved everywhere to prove. And then when I went into the workforce in mortgage lending in 1983, I was doing the same thing. And I had a lot of success. I was closing $50 million a year in mortgage loans, which put me in the top 1% of loan officers in the country. And while that's great, I was working 80 hours a week. I called my house hotel home because I got home late. I barely slept because I was worried. And then I just did it all over again. And and I had an incident with my family, and that was the day I said, look, I'm done proving. I'm going to start living, and I've got to find a way to crack the code on being able to do this job without, all I wanted to do is 50 million, right? How can I do it in a shorter period of time? It's got to be a better way. So I spent the next 2 years doing that. And while I was doing that, what ended up happening is I ended up closing 102 million. I had doubled my production. I was working 4 days a week. I now only work 4 days a week. Now I know how to do that, and worked at 4 days a week. And I was elevated into the top 200 loan officers in the country out of 785,000. And funded over $1 billion in loans, with which very, very few people, less than 20 or 30 people, have done in the world, or in the United States. So, so that was my journey. And so once I cracked that code and figured it out, everyone said, well, how'd you do it? And that's what led me into podcasting and coaching and mentoring.
What was there with all of that trajectory that you just described? And by the way, right, I bet people listening, Jen, are saying, oh my gosh, maybe they weren't a mortgage lender, but it was that same working 80 hours, not enough, just about sleeping, forget about self-care. It's like the grind, right? I got to do the grind. That's the only way I'm going to be successful. That kind of perspective. I was like that too. So I bet people listening are like, holy crap, like they're talking to me, which I hope is always, I hope the show people listen and they think, oh, wait a minute, there's a better way that I could do fill in the blank, right? And this one is, do we really need to work those 80, 90-hour weeks and just kill ourselves for what, right? And really, people say, well, for money, I have to pay my bills. Yes, I get that too. I had, right, we both had financial commitments for our families and everything, but at what cost? And I think we forget, we just go head down, bull, right? Just go like a bull in a china shop, move through, and we don't really take that breath to say, wait a minute, is there a better way? So with that said, was there like a turning point, or was it just a buildup? Like, what was that moment where you thought, I'm done, this has to change? And then you literally changed.
Yeah, definitely. There's a moment. And I'll tell you about that. But I wanted to tell you a couple of things. One thing is that Grant Cardone says this, is that, we don't have infinite energy and infinite time personally. So you can work 80 hours a week for a while, until, and we do this, we sacrifice our health to create wealth. And then later we're spending our wealth to keep our health, right? Because we're sitting in these chairs, right? Yeah. And, but he says, we don't have that infinite time, but when you start building a team, and we'll talk about this here shortly, because that's what the scaling is. When you start building that team, it gives you infinite time, because the more people that you're able to hire, the more it relieves, you of the time that you have to be spent doing that. The other thing is that I had the wonderful luxury of being on Les Brown's speaking faculty for, a period of time before the pandemic came. And, he has a quote that I've used years and years and years, but I didn't get it until I started working with him. He says, if you do what's hard, life will be easy. If you do what's easy, life will be hard. And a lot of times we're just doing this superficial working, right? And saying, well, why is life so hard? But what I realized is, when you say, when he says, if you do what's hard, your life will be easy, people think it's hard work, right? Or working hard, all those long hours that you mentioned, but it's actually doing the hard work. It's digging in so you don't ever have to do it again. It's digging in for a while, and then it is easy. And that's how I've been able to manifest 4 successful 6-figure and 1 7-figure business, is doing the hard work now so that it can be easy later. But I didn't get that as I was standing outside of the restaurant at dinner with my family, right? And you get that phone call, oh, my client needs me. And so I walked outside, and I walked what I call the concrete balance beam, right? Where you're walking on the curb back and forth, and you're kind of waving to people and nodding. And I'm on the phone with the client, saying all that. I'm opening the door for people, while I'm talking to my client, and no one is winning. My family's not winning because I'm not there. I'm not present. I'm not winning because I'm not dedicating 100% of my time and attention to serving them. They're not winning because I'm not doing that either. And that's when I looked over into the window of the restaurant, and my family, they were doing little spitballs at each other through straws and laughing and having all these beautiful memories. And I realized I'm never in them. I'm never in this because I'm so preoccupied with, I don't know, chasing the mighty dollar, whatever the image is, whatever the, ego is that we're trying to chase, whatever it is that propels us to feel like we have to work 100,000 hours all the time. And I literally said, you know what? I listen, I'm at dinner with my family. Let's cut this short. Let me give you a call back tomorrow when I'm in front of my computer and I can dedicate 100% of my time and attention to serving you. Would that be okay? And he said, yes. And I thought, wait a minute. All I have to do is say that I'm busy, that I'm doing something. And no one has ever told me, no, I don't want you to dedicate 100% of your time and attention to serving me. I want you to be distracted. No one has ever said that to me. So that's the moment I said, aha, I'm going to go crack the code myself. I had pieces of it from people, but I didn't have all the pieces, and I created them, so that it would work for an align with me and my goals and my core values. And that's what I set out to do. That was the moment that everything changed.
It's interesting because I'm sure we all have those moments too, where you think, what are you doing? And I remember for me, and I'm in New Jersey. So I was in North Jersey with a client. My kids had hockey practice. My husband was working in Manhattan. So, right, it was my responsibility, and there's traffic, and then it opened up, and, pedal to the metal. And at one point I looked down, I think I was going 95 miles an hour. And I thought in that moment, I was like, what are you doing? Like, if God forbid there's an accident in front of you, you're not walking away from this. And I slowed down and I got home, and the kids, we're going to be late. I said, we're not going to be late. And if we are, oh, well, because I can only do what I can do without killing me and you guys right in the car. And that was the moment where I thought something's got to change, because you can't be so scheduled that you don't even have a minute to not have to go 95 miles an hour because of traffic, right? Yeah. So it's these moments that it's the block on the side of the head, right? The 2x4 on the side of the head that says, what are you doing? Like, this is not a good trajectory in life. So yeah, and I'm sure you and I have had many more of them, right?
Oh, and I'm sure that, anyone who's listening, the same thing. I think, here's the question you want to ask yourself is, are you laden with excuses? Because that's what I was. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I had a client. I'm so sorry the traffic was bad. I'm so sorry I forgot about this. Oh my gosh, I had to go back in that. I was just laden with excuses, and never present, physically, but not mentally, and I was there, but I was never present, and I remember, as you're saying this, I remember walking another, I wouldn't call it a balance beam, but when you said hockey, it reminded me of the baseball games. My son was pitching and I'm walking the chain link fence on the other side, away from everybody screaming so that it's not loud. And I'm having that conversation. And this was before we had mute on our phones. I would just cover up my phone and go, way to go, honey. And then right back to the call. I'm sorry I'm late. Oh, I'm sorry I forgot the snacks. I forgot it was my time. And, that's not life. That is not living life. And it's not being intentional with life. And that's what we do. And, we left jobs, and those who are still on a job, I get it, because I was doing a job too. But those of us that left the job and said, oh, we're going to be an entrepreneur and a salesperson, small business owner, and we're going to have all this freedom. We just locked ourselves into this terrible predicament, and we've just made it worse. And that's what I try to do in my coaching and mentoring, is help people just stop it. Stop doing that. Right. We'll talk about that too, but
right.
You gotta stop it.
I love it. I love it.
Just stop. I mean, I don't know. It's just stop it. Yeah.
So talk about business owners for a bit. I know people are going, we don't know how do we stop this madness, right? How do we get off the crazy train? So, all right, in your perspective, what do you think is holding or holds business owners, and me, in my case, right, when I work with sales teams, back from the massive growth that they deserve, from getting off the crazy train, right? What is the glitch for us?
Yeah. I mean, well, there's multiple glitches. Unfortunately, there's not just one, but I think, people talk about time management all the time. I can't stand that because we can't manage time. You've already heard that. That's nothing new. It really is priority management. What are the priorities? We don't have to do everything. The
That's right.
priorities. And I tell a story. I know I haven't told this story for a while, but I tell a story for a while. So listen, if you're listening and you're a man, you either do your own laundry or you've seen your spouse do it, right? But we do laundry. So why is it that when we go to the dryer, so a lot of people will take one item out and fold it on top of the dryer. Others will put it in a basket and take it somewhere and start folding it, right? Why is it that we don't just take out a towel, fold it, and run it to the linen closet and come back? And then take a sock and run it upstairs into a bedroom, into a closet, or a dresser, open up the dresser, put the one sock in, and then run back downstairs. So unless you're trying to lose weight, you don't do that, right? You don't do that. And the reason you don't do it is because it doesn't make sense. It's inefficient. Yet this is how we work all day long. And we've heard this phrase, I have a laundry list of things to do, right? We've heard that phrase. And what we do is when we get an email, that is our laundry list. It's, hey, look at this cute puppy. Did you get the contract? Hey, when can you meet? I didn't hear back from you. Did you take a look at this? Oh, here's your bill, right? And it is a laundry list. And what we do is that we can't prioritize by making a checklist that looks like laundry. We have to compartmentalize. And that's why it's more efficient. We take out towels, we stack them together. We take out socks, we put them together, and shirts together. And so priority management is recognizing what are the priorities I need to have done today, and then time blocking those like-minded activities into the same time block. So for example, if you're going to do a post, right? Why wouldn't you post everywhere at the same time? Don't just go to Facebook and post. And then later go, oh, that's right, I want to post on LinkedIn. You got to go back online. If you're doing billing, right? If you're doing your own billing or whatever, go pay all your bills at one time. Don't just take that one email and go pay the bill. And then and go here. And then you get distracted. And then you come back and you're like, oh, I forgot to do the contract thing. So look for all the bills. Start setting up rules that to put, this is very mundane stuff, but put rules in your email so it all goes into one place at one time. And then you go in and go pay bill, and you're done. It's so much faster. That's one thing, right? It's priority management, but that starts by understanding what are your core values. And I talk to my coaching clients like this all the time. What are your core values? And I actually get, well, first of all, they look around in their eyes trying to find one, right? Like, I don't know, what are they? And then they come back to me and say, family, as if it's a question. But see, core values are principles, they're non-negotiables. So if your core value, if you state that your core value is family, then they should be a priority.
That's right.
Not the 20th thing you do, which is what I used to do.
Yep.
Right.
I hear you.
If time, or honesty or whatever, all of these, whatever your core values are, 3 to 5 of them, you don't need a ton of them, but whatever these core values are, you have to sort of phone a friend every time that something comes up. Hey, do you want to speak at this event? Hey, can we meet next Tuesday? We got to go to those core values and say, I'd love to meet you on Tuesday, but my daughter has a recital. And I already have that on my calendar, right? This is what's so important in helping us figure out our priorities, and it allows us to breathe because we're not stressed about our family.
Yeah.
And then it allows us to breathe in our business too, where we allow for the white space in between meetings so that we have that moment.
Yeah.
And then I'll stop there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, Jen, though, it's everybody's listening like, it's so obvious. Well, why don't we do it? And it's like anything else, right? It's a habit that you have to form and then utilize and then duplicate every day. This doesn't happen by happenstance. And it's funny because after COVID, I had done everything live, and then COVID came and everything stopped for me.
Oh, me
My
too.
husband lost his job. I had no income. We had money saved, thank God. And then, of course, slowly but surely, everything came back. But as I was networking and learning technology and the things that I had blind spots on, I started working, doing what I had been doing prior to COVID. Well, many years ago, actually, because I had stopped and then COVID hit and I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And, my kids were home. Nobody, they were home. They didn't need me. So I just worked. I doubled down on work. And then after a year of that, you could do anything for a period of time. After a year, I said to my husband, I'm done. This is insanity. I cannot go down that rabbit hole again of just work, 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 work. And so I made a commitment to myself in 2022. So I started doing and I just want to share tangible examples now so people understand what we're talking about. Example
priority management.
Yeah, priority management. And that you mentioned blocking time. I only record on Friday. So it's funny because I have guests who say, oh, you know what? I can't record on a Friday. Can you do a Monday? No, I cannot. Or can they do a Tuesday? No, I cannot. That's my client's time. So I block out my schedule so that if a client needs me, I know it's going to be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Mondays are my reset day. I kind of keep them light so I could get organized for the week. Friday, I only do my podcast, upload the files, and do all of that. The other thing, I do not work weekends anymore unless it's a deadline and there's something extra going on. So setting these boundaries and then living and breathing them has to happen. You can't just say, I'm going to only record on Fridays. And then every time someone asks me that I do it. The other thing, I would go to night events. Connie, can you speak? Can you speak? Can you speak? I love to speak. Never thought about, well, are they my target audience? I would say, sure, of course, I'll help you out. I'll come and speak. Yeah, of course. So I was working all day and then doing 3 nights of speaking. And then I said to my husband, I'm not doing night events anymore. I want to have dinner with the kids. My kids are still home. So you make these choices, but they have to be conscious choices. You have to know you're doing it. Otherwise you can't stop and say, whoa, 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 let me do a pattern interrupt here. I'm going to do this now. So these are the couple of things: recordings on the Friday, not working and doing events at night, unless it's something really important, then of course I do it. But I was doing 3 days, 3 nights a week. That's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. And I think also too, I have this little saying, I don't do anything for FOMO. I only do it for promo. Right. So only if it's going to promote my business or the people that I'm networking with are my perfect clients, right? Or they can be great partners of mine. I think we have a tendency to think that we just have to do everything. I mean, this is just that run amok kind of thing. The other thing I want to say is, I also do my podcast on certain days and I do my coaching on certain days. And I actually, because I have 4 businesses, I work one business every day. Brilliant. Right. And so, and I should say, and there are opportunities for exceptions. I call it, don't erase it, replace it. Right. So if I had someone and I love that you said conscious, pattern disruption, right? Conscious decision. If I had someone that said, like for you, for example, you only do your podcast on Fridays. I only do mine on Tuesdays. And we're both going, hey, that's not going to work. Of course, I'm going to make exceptions for that. But it's the awareness of this as opposed to just running amok. And that's where, okay, so this is where it gets into what I do, which is, you've heard the phrase, stop working in your business, work on your business. Yeah, so I believe we should stop working in and on our business and start living above and beyond our business. And this is a trademark that I'm now putting together, of the process, because when you're in it's all about you. It's me, 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 me. You are everything. You're the marketer. You're I call it finder, minder, grinder in my book launch, How to Take Your Business to New Heights, because you had asked the question. Of course, we know all this stuff. It's the how that is the problem. And so this whole book is written as how to take your business to new heights, not that you don't know what to do. But in the end, it's all about you, and you're managing everything. You're all these pieces: finder, minder, and grinder. When you go to on, it's your first attempt at trying to build your team, hire employees, whatever, if you're a team leader, a manager, an owner. And what ends up happening is that you end up managing the methods that you've created because you forgot to write them down when you were in the me. You were too busy with in the me. You know how to do it, but now you have to teach other people how to do it. And you try to tether yourself away from your business, but you get sucked back into the in because you're like, just forget it. I'll do it myself. Cause And that was a bad hire. And you point fingers at everybody. Oh, they were awful. Instead of, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't ready, right, to do that. And and once you get past that, that moves you into and so by the way, you're enabling your employees. Then when you go to the above, that's when you start empowering them, because you have core values for the business too. Your vision, your voice, you teach them so that that's when they become mini yous in all of your jobs, not just your job that you do now. And that allows you to go above or beyond. Beyond is taking a nap with your grandkids, right? Doing another business, traveling, whatever it is for you. But that's the strategy that I help people understand is most people are in the in and they're just so consumed with everything that they do. But when you start growing, you think you're good at everything until you start growing, but your mind still thinks you're growing. It still thinks you're perfect. And so we lack the ability to understand that, hey, you know what? I could hire someone to do one task or a series of tasks, a role for me. And maybe they're not 100%, but they're better than, they're 80%. But right now I'm working at 40% and I don't recognize and realize that. So that's what the free gift I have today is about that. It's the 7 strategies to create a breakthrough in your mindset about business. And it talks about boundaries and core values and things like that.
And these are all important things because, I think when you and I spoke the first time, we talked about the values. And, if a client doesn't fit my values where they think I'm going to be on speed dial, I don't take the business, right? Because it's not going to feel good for me. The amount of money they're paying me, it's not worth it, and listen, I got bills to pay too. I can't be haphazardly saying, yeah, I don't feel like working, right? We need my income. But on the same token, I'm not selling my soul for a piece of business to become someone else's slave. It can't work. So from
I love that.
From a value proposition, their values have to meet with what my values are, right? Like if they think their people should be answering emails at 4 a.m., they're not my client. That is not healthy. And I will never get in front of people and teach sales and say, yeah, when your boss, emails you at 4 a.m., you should be up and respond. To me, that's insanity. You choose to do that as a boss. That's on you. Maybe you're a night owl, whatever, right? There's no judgment from me. But the flip side of that is you can't expect everybody to behave the way you do. So values become really, really important. And when we come and we choose, again, it's all about choice, right, Jen? When we choose to do or not do whatever, fill in the blank for you.
Yeah. And it's those priorities. There's a couple things. I have over 100 of these little this versus that's. I call them Jen's Jots, but you just mentioned 2 of them. One is when you're in that me stage, when you're in the in stage, you're on demand and not in demand. Yeah. And you are not making money. No. I promise you're not, because you're just scrambling. So you want to get yourself where you're the point to be on demand, which is in the above part. The above and beyond. Now you're in demand. And one of the things compare it to the difference between an emergency room and a neurosurgeon. Who makes more money, right? Because they're in demand. And your clients will wait, I promise. And if they don't, move on. That's the second one. I only work with people that complement, not complicate me, my life, or my practice.
That's right.
By the way, I call my business a practice because it elevates me to being a PhD. Right. My business is I'm a business person. Now I have a practice. I run it like a practice.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to say is I remember a couple of years ago, someone had helped me find a virtual assistant. Her name is Denise, and she is my lifeline. So, 2 years ago, I had the flu and I was down for 10 days. I never get sick, right? People didn't even know I was sick because she ran everything on the back end. it took us time to get there. So we started with 5 hours a week where I could hand her and teach her things because I didn't have 10 hours to give her. Right. And then we went up to 10 and 20. Now she works 40 hours. And I always say to her, and this, I just want to comment because I think it's important for people to understand this. She's a go-getter. She's amazing, right? Our values align, all of the things. I don't want her working while, like, if I'm working an 8-hour day, because it's a 12-hour difference, I tell her, no. We meet twice a week. We'll have our meetings, updates via email. You send me stuff while I'm sleeping. I wake up, I respond. We can function this way. It's all good because we understand, right, each other. We've gotten our jam, our mojo. But here's the important thing that I want everybody to hear. It took me a while to be able to hand everything off to her, but now she says things like, our website, I was thinking, Con, for our social media, she's part of she's my partner. And I call her that. And I say, my partner's going to email you because she's my assistant, but she's more than that. She has made herself more than that because she gets me and she is finding my voice to deliver. And the other thing, Jen, I wanted to say, I helped her start her own VA agency. She's very industrious, right? So God bless her. But she also, I say to her, if we're getting too busy, you let me know. We could bring another VA on. You'll do the training, right? You'll handle everything for me now, but don't get overwhelmed. Right. Don't get overwhelmed. Is not okay. Don't keep saying I could do it. I could do it. I could do it. And then I'm drowning you. See, again, the value proposition has to be a match. And she and I, we're amazing. We've become amazing friends, but she is good. And she knows what to do before I tell her to do it. You got to get there though. She's been with me a couple of years now.
It's killer. Yeah, it's killer. And especially when your clients say, oh, don't worry. I saw, you go, hey, I'm just responding to your email. And they go, oh, don't worry about it. I already talked to mine's Vicky, right? I call her an operations director. She's not an assistant. Nobody on my team has the word assistant in their job because no client wants to be handed to assistant. This is not a downward handoff. It's not a lateral handoff. It's an upward. They're the master at what they do. You used to be the master, but you don't have time to do that. You think you do, but you're falling out, so this is why you hire people. So she's the master at it. But, and I think, and I forgot so the email and people are like, oh, don't worry. I already talked to Vicky. It's just like talking to you. This is why values for your business are different than your person.
Yes.
And sometimes the same, right? Like integrity for me is a personal and a business.
Yes.
But some will be the same, some will be different, but determining what those values are and expressing that and sharing that with your team members, knowing what the vision is for the team. And then there's a mission, that's the how, right? But what is the vision? And then the voice. Are you funny? Are you, really strict? Are you a phone person? Are you an email person? Would you say that in an email? Are you an emoji person or you don't like emojis? What phrases do you use? You have to educate and teach your people this, but they also need to learn it by observing and listening to you. And it's so difficult with the virtual version of this because, like sometimes I'll bring her on podcasts. Sometimes I'll bring her on, speaking engagements so she can learn my vernacular. But it's, you've made it to beyond or to above when someone says, it's just like talking to you.
Absolutely.
And that sounds like what you have too. But you have to have systems in place. You have to have all these things built and it doesn't happen overnight. And by the way, it is a process. There are no quick magic bullet skips. It is a process. But when you work with a mentor and a coach, just like you are and what I do, when you work with a mentor and coach, you can accelerate that process.
That's right.
It'll cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to do it by yourself over a 2 or 3 year period, or condense that into a 6 month to 1 year period and watch what happens.
It's so funny, Jen. We're out of time, but I want to comment on that where hundreds of thousands of dollars we waste. And I was talking to someone and whatever they said they were doing, one of my colleagues, and I said, you're penny wise, dollar foolish. And she paused.
Yeah.
And I said, why aren't you hiring somebody? That's admin. What are you doing? What are you doing? How many hours are you spending? And we're very good friends. I've known her she actually runs my podcast. So I've known her for like 12 years. And she looked at me and she goes, yeah, I needed that slap. And she goes, what am I doing? I go, I don't know. I go, you're penny wise. That's wonderful, right? We don't want to throw pennies away. but you're being dollar foolish. She's, you're right. Oh my gosh. And then we talked about, and she says, yeah, I'm going to do whatever she's going to do to eliminate that penny wise, dollar foolish moment for her.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
here's the
Yeah.
thing. If somebody like you, right, and I have coaches that I've hired through the years, and that's another thing. If your coach doesn't have a coach, run the other way, because like you said, you've
Yeah.
been mentored by Les Brown. If you don't have a coach, you have blind spots too. I have blind spots too. Run the other way. So that is one thing. But using
Yeah.
someone, not using, but hiring, that was the wrong word, hiring someone like you, um,
Utilizing.
utilizing, much better word. Thank you for that, my friend.
Yeah.
But utilizing someone like you, it fast forwards. And again, it gets us out of that penny wise, dollar foolish, that now we're being so efficient. Yeah, we're spending a little extra, but if we're making extra on the other side, it becomes profitable, not it's not a debt. It right becomes an asset.
Right.
So I want everybody to understand
Absolutely.
that, penny wise, dollar foolish. Is Jen the person you need? Listen, only you know that. But here's the deal. Go to her website. It's jenduplessis.com. I will put it in the show notes. Email her. If you have a quick question, please email her. It's Jen, Jen, at jenduplessis.com. You have a free gift, which is the 7 strategies. Just again, one more time, say what that is, please.
Yeah. So it's just 7 thought-provoking strategies for you to have a mindset breakthrough in your business, and talking about, do you have core values? Okay. Yes or no. And if you do, or if you don't get them, and if you do, then do you have boundaries around them? Who are your advisors that you're talking to? Are you talking to people that have never walked the walk and they're telling you what you should do in your business, right? Do you have a business plan? So I go through just, 7 things for you to start thinking about it and see, gosh, yeah, I don't have these things in place. I believe that mindset plus the mechanics creates momentum.
Yeah.
It's not the mechanics. You got to have the mindset. And it's not the mindset, I'm going to manifest this. You have to take action. You have to have the plan, right? So both of those create momentum. And that's what this is, just to get you thinking differently about your practice and how you want to move forward with it.
And the last thing is Jen has, and for some of you, you're going to want to jump in and do this. And I am going to put it in the show notes. It's $197, 8 modules, right? Jen, there's 8 modules in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not video, what do you call it? PowerPoints. All I'm doing is talking to you. That's all I'm doing for 8 modules. And each of them are maybe 5 minutes long.
Beautiful. So if you really take the free gift, and then if you think I really do want more before I step in and maybe hire Jen, do the $197 gig. And again, it builds that know, like, trust, because either she's a good match for you or she's not. And I say this all the time too, Jen. People meet me.
Yeah,
If I'm
absolutely.
not a good match, that's okay. I'm not going to feel bad,
Yeah.
right? It's about
Right.
finding the right person that's going to help you move the needle forward. And hopefully that
Yeah.
is you and I, right? That we could do that for everybody, but that's just not the way it works. So again, I'll put all that information in the show notes, and then you reach out to Jen
So
the way you need to.
thank you. And the program is called Letting Go to Grow. Right? That's what it's called. It's like,
Amen.
how do I let go so I can grow? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of white knuckling.
Yeah. Well, we have to make space to add new things, right? We have to get rid of that old,
Yes.
right? It's like cleaning out your closet. Things don't fit anymore.
Yeah.
It's all clutter. You look in your closet and you go, I have nothing to wear, because all you see are the clothes that are outdated or don't fit. Get rid of them, make room so
Right.
you do see all the beautiful clothes you have. It's the same thing. What are all the beautiful assets I have waiting to come out of me? We got to create
Yeah.
space internally to be able to project better externally, right? It's all an internal game.
It is. It's an inside job.
An inside job, baby. You got it. Jen, thank you so much. What an awesome show. So much fun to hang out with you. Great
Thank
tidbits.
you.
Guys, please take the 7 strategies, buy the book launch. If you're a reader, that could be another avenue for you to get familiar with Jen and some of her strategies. Again, to see if from a value proposition and prioritization, it resonates with you, go for it, use it. And I hope that the show has been useful as well. Jen, thank you again for joining me and taking the time. Truly appreciate it. A joy. It was a joy to chat with you.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where you are on changing your sales game in your career, in business, in sales. I truly hope that my guests and I provide some tips, strategies, and ideas that you can apply right now after listening to the show. So download the 7 strategies. Maybe that's your next step. Show the universe that you're showing up and you're in action mode. Wishing is one thing, executing is another. I promise you, when you take those action steps and take the information we've shared and applied it, magic happens every freaking time. You have to believe, but you have to be the one to take the action. And it is an inside job. So again, thank you for tuning in. You've been listening to Changing the Sales Game with me, your host, Connie Whitman. I am truly honored to have you on this journey of changing your sales game. And I hope that my guests and I provide some ideas for you to manage your life, manage your business, and manage your career with ease and grace. We all deserve that. I love you all. I will see you next week. Have a great one. And again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you later.